Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for the newspaper review, which is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Remember, they're offering free prostate screening and free fertility screening at any of their branches in Accra and Kumasi. And they always, it's by their kind courtesy that we do this, bring you this newspaper review segment. Now today, Head of the European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Asah-Asante, is joining me via phone this morning. Doctor, good morning. It's good to have you on the show.
Good morning, my sister. Good to also hear from you.
Great. So what's on your mind before we get into the newspapers? You know how we do it. Anything you want to respond to this morning in about 2 minutes, and then we get into the papers.
I'll look at the statement made by the road minister.
Okay.
I'm sure we know the story too well to recount it here. But I will want to say that we don't govern a society like that, where only people who are in your party gain attention and gain the support of the state. It's a public business, and we expect that everybody who is due for any service is given. When you are running public office, you are guided by the principle as is captured in Latin, sine ira estudio, without passion, without affection, without hatred. You want to serve your client without passion. You want to serve your client without hatred. You want to serve your client without affection. Whoever comes before you. So that statement by the minister, we think that it is not the best, and he should not repeat it. A public officer, you serve the interests of the people. 2, the second issue is that, Aristotle, the father of politics, give us a guide about how we conduct public business. He said, any rule of government or any means of ruling the society which is not in the interest of the state, it's an aberration. So if you are in public office and you are discharging public duty on the people's behalf, your interest should be the interest of the people, not the interest of any group of people or any friends or family members. No. Once you do that, you have crossed the line. You are not managing public business at all. And above all, when you read our Constitution, it's clear. If you read Article 36, Clause 2D, it gives you an indication that the state will take steps to develop every part of this country evenly. So everybody is entitled to development. And that could come from an independent candidate or could come from anybody outside the ruling party, right? If the ruling party loses an election like this, the primaries, the by-election, and then another person comes in, that person is entitled to development, not only development, even development across the states. So once you do that, you are kicking against Article 36 2D. What is more is that can be seen in Article 17.2, and it talks about the fact that there should not be anything like discrimination. And if you read 3 of the 17 of the Article 17, the 3, it gives you explanation about the category of people that you should make sure that your activities will not go in a sense of discriminating against them. And that is clear for us. So I believe that, yes, in politics you can cross the line, but when you do and you are drawn to the issue or they remind you of the issue, you don't repeat that. I think it doesn't bode well for the party. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't even help the minister himself. And of course his party, which is trying to break the 8. They have said it. And these are the things that take away people from the political space and want to give their vote to other people. Please, Mr. Minister, I'm sure you have heard it all, so that you don't go on that tangent at all. Because you remember, it's recently we also heard from the president about what he said about Ekunti, and then what the president also said when he went to Volta region. When you put all together, it doesn't give us the picture that we want. It is a public service. It is public service. You serve without affection, without passion, without hatred. Sine era estudio. That's a Latin expression. You serve everybody equally because you are a minister for all. You are taking the interests of everybody at heart. And let us remember that we are operating a democracy. And democracy means what? Two words. Demos, kratin. Demos mean people. Kratin or kratos mean rule of the people. So at all material points in time, the interests of the people should reign supreme, not any other sectarian interest, right? Remember that anybody put in office, you are not running your private business. If it's your private business, you can choose and pick people you want to serve. But if it's public, I'm afraid the public interest reigns supreme.
Right. When I saw that video, what came to mind is how do we nip this in the bud? Because I remember in 2013 or so, the then party chairman of MPP, Jacob Echebilamte, said they were going to sanction party members who were making indecent statements, political statements like that. Because the Media Foundation for West Africa had brought out a report that said the NPP recorded the highest number or highest percentage of frequently making statements of the sort. And years down the line, here we are, and they are in government, they're in power, and the president himself is making statements like that, like we saw in Ekunfi, telling them that the reason he's abandoned them is because they didn't vote for you. So how do we actually, nip this in the bud so that it doesn't continue? Those are just my thoughts. But let's get into the newspapers now, starting with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. There's a story on the front page of all newspapers, actually. Submits 2023 reports to SIGA by May 15. That is the precedent. But let's start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, delays in audited financial statement. Submits 2023 reports to SIGA by May 15th. President bears teeth at SOEs. Brawl over increase in transport fares. JB Dankwa-Edu murder case. Kennedy Japan, Owusu Akufo, others subpoenaed. Ghana National Fire Service records 5% increase in fire outbreaks first quarter 2024. Let's begin with this story about the president asking SOEs to submit their financial reports to SIGA. The story is on page 9 and it reads, the president Akufo-Addo has directed all state-owned enterprises to submit their audited financial statements for 2023 to the State Interest and Governance Authority, that's SIGA, by May 15 this year, or face sanctions. He said the Public Financial Management Act mandated the submission of audited financial statements of specific entities by the end of April each year, and this must not be taken lightly. Quote, these financial statements are central to the preparation of the state ownership reports, and board chairs of all specified entities and all cabinet-approved list of entities are expected to submit their audited accounts and financial statements to SIGA by May 15. Dr. Kwame, what are your thoughts on this? Because it looks like it's everywhere that submits financial reports, NANA orders, SOEs. In fact, all the newspapers here this morning has that as their headline. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. That is the requirement. But if it's a requirement that they need to submit to government and all that, and then it will be in line with the rules of the game. If not, then it's going to be something different. But I believe that, yes, once, if it is the case that you need to submit, then they need to follow through because politics, we are always guided by the rules, the game. That's what we call institution. So if it is an institutional requirement, then obviously it will do as if they should. And if not, then it's going to be an application. Right. So
right.
Let me leave it at this, since I'm not all the information about it. I will get cautiously and leave it at this level.
Okay, I'm just wondering why this is so, urgent and serious. But like you said, if it's the mandates, then they should do so. Now, there's another story we should focus on. The Ghana National Fire Service records 5% increase in fire outbreaks in the first quarter of 2024. And it reads, the Ghana National Fire Service recorded 2,291 fire outbreaks in the first quarter of this year, as against 2,177 the previous year within the same period, representing 5.2% increase in recorded cases. And they mention ecological imbalance or harsh weather, extreme associated with heat, dryness, and high winds during the harmattan as causes of the fire. Others are electrical faults, use of inferior or substandard electrical cables, misuse of naked lights, such as lit mosquito coils, candles, and matches. What sticks out of this story for me is the electrical faults. This morning, my kettle just blew up because of the erratic on and off power, supply that we have. Sometimes I just have to put off the fridge completely just to be safe. But if we are seeing, and then the thing about the weather too is not to be, and it's not an understatement, because we've experienced some really serious heat waves over the past few months this year, I think. So if there's anything that we can do to ensure that we are reducing these fire outbreaks, then it's better for us. What do you think?
I think we have to work very hard at this problem. We are lucky that we have not heard any bad news about markets, under fire, and then, issue of very important places that catch fire along the way. That type of activity has been on since time immemorial. We thank God it is reducing, but what we are experiencing from other areas is not also good enough. Particularly when you are talking about electrical faults due to what? Faulty appliances and then substandard electrical wires and the rest of them. I think these days, as I've seen the FDA, they have stepped up their game. We must commend them for that. But we want to tell them that there's more room for improvement. They can also move further to fish out all those who bring thick goods into the system and create problems for us. But I must commend them, because if I judge them from the 90s, when they were called the standard board and all that, you have seen massive improvement. And as children of Oliver, we want more of such better service, so that this issue about fire here, fire there, will be a thing of the past. For the climatic conditions, we can do very little, but the little we can do, we need to be able to do and do it well by saving the ecosystem, trying to make sure that we don't cut trees unnecessarily, trying to make sure that when we are burning, all right, it is highly controlled and the rest of them. Because in rural areas, one means by which you can prepare a piece of land for agricultural purposes through burning and all that, but you do it with caution. I have been a rural boy since the time I was born. And, by being in the village, we know what the situation is. So all that we tell people is that where there is a need for that in the rural areas, then you do with caution. Otherwise, you don't do at all if you can avoid it and all that, and make sure that we save the ecosystem and we save our lives. Once we destroy the ecosystem, I'm afraid there's not going to be any life or any human being. And remember, we are struggling with food production and the rest of them. So we need to make sure that we keep our environment tight.
I must also commend the Ghana National Fire Service, because they've been they've been consistently sharing these periodic updates to keep this, the dangers of fire outbreaks and the awareness of citizens, so we are more cautious in our daily activities. Yeah,
you are spot on. You are spot on, yeah. Because the activities are in the area of making sure that they churn out the right information at the right time, their responses and all that. We have seen marked improvement, and we commend them for that. But we will still want more of the better service they are delivering.
Right. Now let's do the story on the brawl over increase in transport fares. Last week, the Ministry of Transport was supposed to meet the various transport unions and operators, but the meeting was postponed to today. Fuel prices have gone up. Everything, cost of maintenance products have gone up. They're saying spare parts are expensive and all that. But the ministry is saying they should not increase prices. And these drivers are also saying that they need to be able to make some money. So the story is about a near brawl on some commercial vehicle, a trotro, from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle Station to Ablekuma, when passengers were informed of a sudden increase in transport fare imposed on them by the drivers. And some passengers refused to pay on the grounds and, making it turning it into an altercation. But Let's wait and see what the outcome of this meeting will be today. I do not think that it's fair to these drivers because they also make it's a business. It's their way of survival. If fuel prices have increased, if inflation is causing spare parts and other products that they need in the operation of these cars have gone up, there's some sort of adjustment need to be done. But why it's taking so long for the ministry to actually just sit down with them and say, okay, we understand what you're saying, this is what we can do, even if they don't want to agree on their 20% or 30% increment, then you can strike a balance and say, okay, we can do 5 for now, and then we can look at an upward adjustment. I don't know, but it's just taking more time. And some of these so-called floating drivers or independent drivers who don't belong to any association, like they don't belong to the GPLT or TUC, etc., have completely, decided not to comply with the order or the directive of the ministry. They've just increased their transport fares because it's business for them and they're private businesses. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Yes, I think it's a fair point you are making. Prices have gone up in relative to everything that you need to pay for. So we can talk about high cost of fuel, high cost of spare parts, and the rest of them. These things affect the transport industry big time. So obviously, there's a need for an upward adjustment of the prices in the area of what Laura says. So when they demand that, I think it's a fair demand. The ministry, I don't know why they postponed the meeting, but the good news is that they say it's coming off today. I'll be glad that and others would expect them and judge over the issue and arrive at something that will be fit for public consumption. That is all there is when you have a meeting which is guided by rules of the game and also by consensus. Once they agree on a roadmap of a sort, is going to help everybody and is going to improve living conditions of people. Remember that as soon as fuel prices go up and cost of transportation also go, it affects everybody. So the ministry, I will urge them to do this, undertake this exercise very, very early and make sure that we get the drivers on the street and they are satisfied with whatever we feel at the team, so that we can have what we continue iPhone. But there's something that also hits my mind. It's about the fact that is it always that people prices will be determined by the stakeholders and all that? Because I thought that we are in what a capitalist system driven by the forces of demand and supply, where people fix their prices based on market conditions. So, but I'm not pleased with the details of this type of information related to what they do in this industry. So I want to tread cautiously. But otherwise, once you are in a capitalist state and you have you control the prices of your commodities or your services and all that. So why would they want to resort to the ministry and all that? Because I am saying this. I heard a statement in one of your networks where the people were challenging that, after all, they are not supposed to, meet them with the ministry and take a decision. If there is a thing of this sort, I'm sure as we go along, it will come up and all that. But all that I want is that at the end of the day, if there is a stakeholder meeting, there will be what? Give and take. And at the end of the day, a decision that will be reached will be meaningful to everybody, so that they will all defend and then implement them for the benefit of our society.
Dr. Kwame, do you think we are practicing a purely capitalist system, or it's a future of capitalism and socialism, and we're picking and choosing from here and there and mixing it all together? Because it's not clearly a capitalist state. We're not,
you are seeing other strands of, ideological, positions in there. You see bits and a little bit of what socialism, in a sense of what welfareism, welfare policies. You are talking about Maslow. You are talking about food feeding. You are talking about VHS, SHS, and all the rest of it. these are all welfare policies to cushion people against harsh reality of the capitalism. And of course, it's not only driven by capitalist ideas. You have an aspect which is it bears resemblance with the common economy, where they also come to certain aspects of our life and all that. So it's a mixture of ideas. When I say ideology, that govern the state. So it's not one, but where you an aspect which is manifesting is that on our market, you realize that there is always the laissez-faire. When we say laissez-faire, what we are talking about is what you are allowed to do what you want to do within the framework of the law, within the economic space, without any interference from the state. So you can see that aspect. That is why prices of goods and services are dictated by the market conditions, but not by any government whatsoever and all that. But of course, where you see government coming in, then that feature of the command economy resonates with you and the rest of them. It's a whole complex matter, but I agree with you. We are not dealing with strictly a capitalist state and all that, but at least you can see the hand of capitalism in there, a bit of welfareism, which has something to do with socialism, a bit of social democracy, all right, the fight against poverty, eradication, and all that. That is a blend between socialism and that of what democracy manifesting in this type of. Ghana has not defined ourselves along strictly one ideological line. So that is the picture you see.
Right. Okay, let's now move to the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, submits financial reports, nowadays SOEs, Africa Law Practice, NG & Co, Ala Ghana Forum New Alliance. Baumia provides 5,280 dual desks for West Mampusi schools. Chief of Staff hails Otum for transparency needed in assets declaration, according to Osafo Mafo. But let's start from the story on page 9 of the Daily Guide newspaper. ASAP blames economic downturn on IMF $1 billion. So ASAP argued that, a policy think tank, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, has blamed Ghana's economic downturn on the International Monetary Fund's $1 billion injection for the negative impact of COVID-19. In line with its quota, Ghana was given an SDR of $707.3 million, or that is $1 billion, by IMF due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the first tranche of the 300 million was used for partial cover of the 2021 42 billion Ghana cedi fiscal deficit in December 2021. The second tranche of $603 million was used in May 2022, and the remaining balance of $61 million was used in July to cover the year's fiscal deficit. ASAP is arguing that the government's spending of the money without a well-defined medium-term fiscal plan spells doom for the country. ASAP senior policy analyst Mabel Akwe said at a media engagement forum in Accra that the development is partly blamed on Ghana's failure to implement timely debt restructuring. Do you agree, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, that some of our economic woes...
experts who are speaking, and we have no doubt about that. The way we manage resources in this country has been a problem. So I'm not surprised the officer or the scholar is speaking this way. It has been a problem, and I don't know why. Because we have all the good laws that help us regulate stuff in this area. Yet, we ample of those laws and break them without recourse any rule of the king. It's unfortunate. Why do we make laws that govern how we spend and all that? It's just to ensure prudence and then value for money. But we throw all these things away, and then we come back to square one, where we don't have resources, and then we have created indiscipline relative to what finance. And the effect has always been with that. The problem we have in this country is that our leaders do not want to use history as a guide to what they do. So a problem that you have experienced over the years, which you have criticized it so heavily, you only have opportunity to come to office and come and repeat that. And we as a society, we have also contributed to what these things are gaining currency in this country, in the sense that When there is the opportunity for us to criticize, we don't. When there is opportunity for us to question some of these things, we don't. Meanwhile, we have all the rules. Look at our constitution. Look at the preamble. It said that we believe in probity and accountability. When you are probing into things, people will see you in a different light. When you are asking for what? Leaders to account for the stewardship of their office, it's a problem. And at the end of the day, when we get opportunity to change people from such positions and show them the exit within the democratic space, it's also a problem. We abuse all these things. So some of these things, until we decide to right the wrongs, using the rules of the game to deal with it, and using our, popular sovereignty. When I say popular sovereignty, our power to vote people into office and vote them out. We are not going to get these problems solved. We need to be able to use these tools effectively. The rules of the game, when an individual needs to go to court and enforce some of these things, why not? When we get opportunity to change people who are drivers of the economy and they are not managing things the way it ought to be, we don't have to hesitate at all. We throw them out and give way to others who will come in and then move within the requirements of the democratic state.
I will do 2 quick stories in the Daily Guide newspaper, and then I'll come to you for your reaction. The first is 4 caged over new train accidents. 4 more caged over new train accidents. And then GFA delivers on Division 1 League promise. Okay, the first one. 4 persons have been remanded by the High Court in Accra for their involvement in the accident involving a new Tema Impakan diesel multiple units 001 train colliding head-on with a truck abandoned on the railway in Abutia area. So the 4, Koku Kujo, who is a gas welder, Patrick Kweku Susu, Aleza Prosper, and Fidogbe Emmanuel, all laborers, are alleged to have abetted Abel Jidoto, the convicted driver who abandoned the truck on the railway. Court documents indicate that the 4 were in the truck with the convicted driver when it got stuck on the railway, and they decided to abandon it. The documents further state that the 4, being fully aware that the railway lines were inaccessible to motor vehicles, still decided to use the railway lines as a shortcut to Japan. Quote, even if the truck had successfully crossed the railway, a big gutter and a stream to the west side of the railway lines would have prevented the accused persons from joining the Akuse-Japan road, the document revealed. I'll add this story to it before I come back to you. Something about the Division 1 League in the sports segment, right? So GFA delivers on DOL promise. So in its bid to change the narrative, I know you're a sports enthusiast, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this. The Ghana Football Association has rolled out some interventions. And to the Football Association President, Keto Kureku, the initiative forms part of plans to revive the sector. He said the introduction of 80,000 Ghana cedis cash per club for the first time, as well as the complete absorbing of officiating fees for all clubs, are classical examples. So speaking in Kumasi a few weeks ago, he said plans are afoot to introduce a digital player license strategy. For the first time in the history of the Division 1 League, each club will receive a cash incentive of 80,000 Ghana cedis, and they will complete the absorbment of officiating fees for all clubs. That is according to the FA boss. Your reactions to these stories?
Yes, I think the story about the new train and the accident, the good news is that this case is before appropriate forum, the court. So let us leave the court to handle the matter. When the court finishes its work, we'll come back and look at it, and we'll take a cue from it. The issue about GSA trying to inject 80,000 Ghana cedis into soccer administration in the divisional league sector is a good one because, as you rightly said, now I can say that I am no more a football enthusiast, but I used to be.
Okay.
Simply because of the results I'm getting, I am gradually dying. The dream in me is going out. And then if an innovation like this will improve the fortunes of football in administration in this country, why not? Why not? Because if you look at it, strictly speaking, there are a lot of talents that are out there that we need to tap. And when growing up as a little boy, we saw football played at the zonal level at the regional level, at the national level, where the whole exercise was meant to hunt for talents and bring them to the national level. We have abandoned all this, and now our national team is struggling to get players who will be able to play and give us the results. Remember those days, we had players who were purely local, Abdul Razak, Mohamed Polo, Adofama, name them. And these were locals. None of them had gone outside to play any competitive soccer, but they were very competitive in their own right here, and they were winning the laurels for us here. What has changed? If this is the way that will inject fresh energy into the system, why not? But let's make sure that once we are throwing in money here, we ensure value for money, and the money that is used for this exercise will be shepherded and make sure that it serves that interest. More often than not, we throw money in here only to find expression in people's pocket without necessarily being used for the purpose for which it was earmarked for. I believe that we ensure value for money and make sure that we harness all the talent and use them appropriately to bring back the game of football in this country. I know this country can do it, and yes, we can do it. Let us put our heads together and then work at it.
All right, we have to go, but I want to do this quick story in the Daily Graphic newspaper for your reaction, and then we can wrap it up. CDD proposes shorter timelines for parliamentary polls petition. So the Center for Democratic Development has recommended the Judicial Service of Ghana to amend the PNDCL 284 to provide a shorter timeline for adjudicating parliamentary election cases at the High Court and the Court of Appeal. It also proposes that cases should be heard within a maximum of 67 days and a minimum of 47 days after the election results have been declared. And the Director of Programs and Policy Engagement, CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, made the recommendation at a training workshop for journalists in Tema last Monday. What do you think? Do we need a shorter adjudication period for parliamentary petitions?
I think the CDD position is nothing but an apt description of the situation on the ground. We need that. Okay. We need that because we have followed the electoral plane and then the legal encumbrances with all these things. We believe that a shorter period will serve everybody good. There are cases that are there to serve as a guide for us. Look at Amon's case at Ayawasu Wogon, where he won and he had to be out of parliament. He never got the position until 2 months to the expiration of the tenure before the court ruled and all that. Of course, if you have such a thing, it really affects the quality of democracy, and it also undermines the choice of all voters in that democratic space. So if CDD have looked at all these things and are recommending something that will really deal with this problem, why not? I believe that this thing will be taken in good faith, and then we'll look at it, interrogate it, and then we'll make the best use of it. It will help the cause of democracy. Because the more you delay on this matter, it can turn into something else. And remember that we are working very hard to consolidate this democracy. This is the only game that we know in town, and we can't afford to slow down the process of entrenching it.
Right, because time is of the essence. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, for your time on the newspaper review. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is the head of European Studies at the University of Ghana. And before we go, a gentle reminder that the segment is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering free prostate screening and free fertility screening. You can locate them at any of our branches in Accra or Kumasi. There's still more to come on the AM show, but for this newspaper segment, review segment, it's a wrap. We'll be back shortly.